What is going on, nerds? This is it, man. Early voting has started for the Yang for New York race. It is so close and it is highly volatile in that we've got maybe a new front runner. What is going on? Ooh, wow, this is repeating. My phone was on. Sorry. We have a new front runner. And that person is not Andrew Yang. We're going to get into the data and talk about what you can do to change that outcome. But first, Andrew, let's warm it up.
There's no place to hide now that he's arrived. I'm saying he ain't playing now with this campaign. Bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the Yang Gang. Drew Yang Gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew Yang Gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew Yang Gang, that's who I hooked up. Yo, there's no place to hide now that he's arrived. I'm saying he ain't playing now with this campaign. Bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with.
Hello, nerds. Nerds for Humanity. By the way, if you become a member or hook me up with a super chat, you're going to get one of these sweet little call outs that'll be animated with Andrew saying hello, nerds. This is it, man. This is what people come to see. We only have a couple weeks till the big day. And I'll be honest with you, it is not looking amazing. It is something where we have got to all come together because June 22nd is right around the corner. And if this doesn't happen for Andrew, man, it's actually 9 days. Sorry, 9 days, not a couple of weeks. 9 days to go. If it doesn't happen for Andrew, it will be a massive setback, not only for the Yang Gang, but for basic income. So, you know, say what you want about any other issues, but there's a bigger story here. And when they look back in history, they're going to say, wow, a turning point was when Andrew Yang became mayor of New York. Or they're going to say the movement hit a long-term plateau ever since June 22nd of 2021. So that's, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I really do believe that everything that we talked about in terms of truly innovative policy reform is on the table. You're not going to get that with Eric Adams, and you're not going to get that with Maya Wiley. You're going to get kind of very traditional democratic kind of ideas. And that's great. There's a place for it. But I think a lot of us believe New York and the country, frankly, the world needs bigger ideas than the stuff that we've been talking about since the 1960s. So hopefully Andrew pulls it off. I myself made hundreds of calls last weekend. I may actually hit the calls again. It's actually super easy to do. It's really, if you haven't done it before, it's all done through your laptop. Even the dialing is done. They give you a script, and it's just a numbers game. You just kind of run through a lot of calls, a lot of people hanging up. But, you know, it is that close where if you volunteer, the other thing you could do is think about all of the friends you have in New York City and give them a call from your mobile phone or text them. People you might not have talked to for many years. Leave it all on the field, as they say. Why am I sounding the nerd alarm bell? Well, let's look at the data, and you decide for yourself. Here we go. Let me share first the poll results, which is what I think you all want to see. And, oops. Let's move that there. Okay. So here is the polling trend. And as a reminder, Andrew is the purple line. And that is not going in the direction we want to go. That has gone from a high of darn near 35 to right now, which is closer to the high teens. And then you have this turquoise line, which is Eric Adams. And he's held up, even though the whole like, oh, where does Adams live thing, that kind of became popular on Twitter, but it did not show up in this poll. Now, in fairness, the latest poll is from June 8th, and I'm pretty sure maybe that's just when the Fort Lee, kind of how basically Adams doesn't really live in the Bronx, started emerging, or people don't know if he really lives there. It did not appear like his property was well lived in, and people who live in that building, I guess they said they hadn't seen him in a long time. So, but Adams, despite all of that talk, let's be real, Adams is not going anywhere. He's still over 25 compared to Yang in the high teens. And then most interesting is this pink line, which when I hover over turns red. So it's kind of this alternating line. And that is the Maya Wiley line, who is from Washington, D.C., and went to school in New Hampshire, went to college in New Hampshire, and then is now in New York. And she got the AOC endorsement, and you see, for the first time ever, Maya Wiley has polled higher than Andrew M.F. Yang. So don't worry, Elizabeth. We're going to go into the RCV factor, and we're going to show you what the instant runoff looks like based on the last Emerson poll. Spoiler, it does not look good for us. So, but it doesn't look terrible. There's one poll, but it is the latest poll. So there you go. In terms of the exact numbers in that Emerson poll, let me just jump over to a better visualization. Here, you see Adams as numero uno, then Wiley, then Yang at 15, then Garcia, who got that New York Times endorsement, at 12, and then Stringer dropping under double digits, single digits. And then you got Donovan and McGuire. I actually like McGuire, to be honest with you. And then Morales. Morales pretty much imploding. Morales was the progressive favorite. I think Morales is a good example of how it is great to have strong policy positions, but you got to be able to lead a team. You got to be able to build an organization. You have to talk about diversity, but you also have to make diversity a reality. And if you hire a diverse team and then they all start protesting against you in front of your headquarters while you're running for election, that ain't leadership. Oh, there's a dude, Chang. I don't know who this Chang dude is. I have to look him up later. So that's the first choice. So as you can see, basically Yang is, he's either number 2 or number 3, since the margin of error is about 3 percentage points. He could be number 4 potentially if he was as low as 12. But he's definitely not number 1. Adams is for sure numero uno, which is very disturbing, because if you watch that debate, that there's something fishy about that guy. Not just all the allegations that kind of are surrounding him, but just sort of the way he communicates. It's not out of a place of respect and warmth and positivity. It's very kind of high school, kind of bullyish approach. Anyway, what are the top issues? But this might explain why Adams is so strong, because the number 1 issue for voters is crime. Adams, as a former police officer, probably can make very credible arguments that he's well equipped to deal with crime. And crime is separate from police reform. So there are people, and I've talked to family members who live in New York City, and they basically feel very unsafe in the Big Apple. And so that's certainly a concern and something that we got to think about, because what is the difference between these candidates on crime? Well, Adams can say, hey, I wore a bulletproof vest for 20 years. Wiley will probably focus on kind of the underlying social economic kind of drivers for crime. Yang, it's not clear. Like, how do you summarize Yang's view on crime? He probably needs to, make a crisper argument there. Now, one thing is that when you actually look at Yang's policies, I mean, I know nobody covering this race likes to talk about policies, outside of the Yang Gang media. But let's take a look at Yang's policy positions when it comes to public safety and quality of life. So here we go. Let me share that screen with you guys. Okay, here, we're already sharing. Great. So you've got Safe and Fair City. Let's go to that one. And here you see, create a deputy mayor for public and community safety with a direct line in the mayor, appoint a police commissioner with a background beyond NYPD, pursue residence requirement for new officers. That's a pretty good one. Prevent the rise in hate crimes, invest resources in neighborhoods stricken by gun violence, overhaul oversight of NYPD, expanded mental health counseling for officers, expand our capacity for mental health response, auditing the use of surveillance technologies, and then you've got, I think there was something about a next generation NYPD. Let's see here. We've got make the entrance exam permanently free, recruit Black, Latino, Asian American, Jewish, Muslim, and women. Make EO67 permanent, set a goal of 50% of officers in upper ranks to be people of color. And then, let's see what else we got here on public safety. Ending gun violence and tackling crime. Temporarily reassign experienced, reform-minded officers to precincts where gun violence is rising. Create a new anti-violence and community safety unit. Immediately reopen courts to address illegal gun possession. Invest in early intervention, expand youth referrals, citywide scaling of hyper-local violence prevention programs. Break the iron pipeline into New York City. That's where guns come from the southeast. Prevent and respond to rise in hate crimes. Work with New York State to ensure funds from Community Violence Intervention Act. Create 24-hour community-led emergency response units. Release funding for cure violence and anti-violence organizations. Fully resource crisis management system. New warning system for low-level offenses, pass Enhanced Background Checks Act, pass the Bipartisan Background Check Act, pass the assault weapons ban once and for all. So, if you care about crime and you're in New York City, I would argue that, you may want to take a look at Yang's policy positions because, he's known for basic income, but like, in the presidential, the guy has plans for pretty much everything, and he's definitely not kind of just passively watching this crime problem. He has a lot of specific things he wants to do, but understandably, given Adams's bio and his time as a NYPD officer, that goes to his advantage, the fact that crime is such a top issue. As an example, if jobs or, economic recovery were a top issue, then you could argue maybe Yang would be doing better. But right now, again, he is number 3 potentially either number 2 or number 4 as well, depending on the margin of error. But he is definitely not number 1. And this kind of shows you that trend. This is Emerson to Emerson polling over time, and it can be read left to right. And as you can see here, Adams has definitely pretty much maintained upper teens to low 20s. Wiley pretty much doubled from upper single digits to now 17. That is the power of the AOC endorsement and probably the collapse of Diana Morales. And then Yang, started out really strong, probably off of all of that name recognition from the presidential campaign, and has really kind of come back to what seems to be his natural kind of sustainable level, which is mid-teens. You see Garcia doing really well with that New York Times endorsement, and then now dropping and probably leveling out at the lower double digits, pre-teens. And then Stringer peaked at 15, but there's still 12% that are undecided. In fact, there are more undecided now than there were, about 2 weeks ago. So there's 12 points up for grabs. The difference between Adams and Yang is 7. So, if Yang was able to get a big chunk of those undecideds, that would be amazing for him. Now, let's talk about the ranked choice voting. This is a simulation of the instant runoff. And as you can see here, it starts with round 1. With Adams leading, then Maya, and the lowest would be, looks like Aaron Foldenauer. Then you get Paperboys. Wow, Paperboy has a great Twitter following, but only 1%. Then his people get split up, then Chang's people, then Taylor's, and so on. And what you see is as you move through these rounds, you see Yang does pick up some, going from 15 to 17 to 19. You also see Wiley picking up people from 16 to 19. So Yang probably gains more in the subsequent rounds, at least up to round 6, than Wiley does. And Adams, he picks up, good almost 3 or 4 percentage points versus Yang picking up around also 4 percentage points. And then when you advance and you start taking out Donovan, then you see Donovan's people mostly go to Yang. Yes, very nice, very nice. And then you have Springer's people drop out. Springer's people go mostly to, none of Springer's people go to Yang. It looks like they mostly go to Garcia. Interesting. They mostly go to Garcia more than anything else. Then Garcia's people, they drop out, and their supporters mostly go to... they go both to Wiley and Adams and a little bit to Yang. Not a lot of overlap between Yang and Garcia versus Yang and versus Garcia and Adams and Garcia and Wiley. And then when Yang's people drop out, sorry to say that scenario, but it is what would happen in round 10. When Yang's people drop out, it looks like enough of them go to Adams that you get Adams as the winner and Wiley as number 2. You guys are saying my logo is blocking the top right. So that was, thank you for calling that out, Think Beyond. So that's, as you can see, that's what happens at the end of the day. You get Adams at 58, Wiley at 41, and the round before Yang gets knocked out, you have Adams at 39, Wiley at 33, Yang at 27. Now, what would be interesting is what would happen if Yang were slightly ahead of Wiley. Would Wiley voters help push Yang over that 50 percentage point mark, or would more of them go to Adams? I would imagine that Wiley supporters, I don't know if they would go for Adams. I bet a lot of them would see him as a former Republican who's big on stop and frisk and got a lot of investigations. That doesn't sound great. I would imagine Wiley people might be more likely to go to Yang. So what would happen if you flip these? What if Yang were at 33 and Wiley were at 27 in round 10? Where would the Wiley people go? Would 17 out of the 27 go to Yang and put him over the 50% mark? Who knows? So there you go. That is the latest polling. Now, before that, we had the Ipsos poll, which was from May 17th to May 31st. And in that poll, you had Adams as number 1 at 24, and you had Yang as number 2 at 17. So Ipsos had Yang at 17. Emerson has Yang at 15. Fairly consistent. The big difference is this Ipsos poll might have been not reflecting the AOC effect, whereas the Emerson poll definitely has that AOC effect. So that's it for the polls. Now let's look at George Garcia, from your lips to Wiley supporters' ears, right? Hopefully that happens. Hopefully the Wiley people will show up and rank Yang ahead of Adams. Now that still requires us to get to the final round, which means in order to be in the final round, we need to pick up more of these Garcia voters, because many of them, only about 4 percentage points plus of that 19 went to Yang, whereas good 7 percentage points went to Wiley and 7 percentage points went to Adams. So when you take this 19.3 and you divide it between the remaining 3, more of the Garcia people went to Wiley and Adams than Yang, and that's why Yang ends up in 3rd place in the round 10. Oh, ranked choice voting, super cool. Now let's look at media coverage. We've got, hold on. Rearrange so you can see. Okay. Gnomes Rocks is saying, hey, Wiley then Adams ranking just makes no sense. At that point, it's just an identity politics of the black candidate. I see, yeah. Why would a Wiley supporter go for Adams? Yeah, that is a good point. Now, if a Wiley supporter doesn't agree with Adams on policy, but they think that Yang's not a real New Yorker, despite him living 25 years there, him being married there, his kids being born there, but they might still say, like, well, is he really a New Yorker? Like, where's he really from? That kind of thing. So, that could affect whether Wiley people go to Yang. It is nice that there's so many of the, what was it? Was it the McGuire people that went over to, I think a good number of the Donovan and McGuire people went to Yang. Let's see, Yang. No, actually, he didn't get any of the McGuire, but he did get a decent number of the Donovans. Yeah, the Sean Donovan people. So that's nice to see. All right, media coverage. Eric Adams calls out Andrew Yang's racism. Ooh, what? Eric Adams is playing the race card? No. Oh, and it's being heavily promoted by the good old New York Post, which is like the Fox News of New York. No, I do not want any alerts from you, and please don't play a video. I'm streaming now. I don't want to give you my bandwidth. All right, let's see what they say here. Mayoral frontrunner Eric Adams said rival Yang is a racist for pushing claims that the Brooklyn borough president lives in a New Jersey apartment and not in Bed-Stuy, which he calls his primary residence. How dare Andrew Yang say a retired NYPD captain, a state senator, a borough president, significant other is an educator, and we can have two homes. Adams said Friday at a Staten Island campaign event, referring to his own resume and that of his girlfriend, who owns the New Jersey property. He has two homes, so you don't see the hint of racism in that I can't have two homes? Adams said, referring to Yang's New Paltz, New York vacation home, where he spent the pandemic with his family. Yes, I have two homes, and I live in Brooklyn, and that's my only response to that. I live in Brooklyn. I don't live in New Paltz. My success allowed me to have two homes, and I'm proud of that. And I'm not apologizing for that. Wow. Adams says, surrounded by mostly black supporters while receiving the endorsement of Deborah Rose of Staten Island. Adams invited the press over to his home for a tour after Politico raised questions about where he lives, and rival campaigns, including Yang, said his primary residence was Fort Lee. Yang has continued to raise questions about Adams' residency, even after leading political figures like de Blasio said the borough president is clearly a Brooklynite. I don't know if you want de Blasio defending you. About Eric Adams, it's not just the fact that he most certainly lives in in New Jersey. It's that we're asking these questions one day before early voting starts, why he's never paid a rental income tax, even though he owns 5 units, and just told reporters 2 days ago that that's how he helped his son pay for college. All right, so basically a lot of this back and forth. You know, I don't know. Does Eric Adams live in New Jersey? Only Eric knows. He certainly spends a lot of time in New Jersey. Should that disqualify him from becoming mayor of New York City? I don't personally think so, but I think the irony is that Eric Adams spent the last 6 months screaming at the top of his lungs how he doesn't think Andrew Yang lives in New York City, and he's spending half of his time or more in New Jersey. So it is a little bit of projection. It's kind of like when Trump would say, like, oh, nobody respects women more than I do, and Biden can't be trusted around women. It's like, really? You're going to make that argument? And so Adams was had a lot of chutzpah to start attacking his opponents about where they lived when, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he spends 51% of his time or more in Brooklyn. I mean, you are spending a lot of time in New Jersey. Like, you don't have to apologize for that, but you just shouldn't attack people because they went to upstate New York in the middle of a pandemic because they had more space and they wanted to distance, and a father wants to take care of his kids. Like, he wasn't mayor. What did you want him to do? So, anyway, Yang chased by angry protesters during Brooklyn campaign stop. New York City mayoral wannabes cast early votes. Yang holds out. New York mayoral debate highlights and analysis. Oh, yeah, that was an interesting debate. Wasn't amazing, but it was interesting. 5 takeaways. Candidates agree that New York City should rename sites named for slaveholders. Debate was civil, but there were some fireworks. Attacks over ethics, corruption, and trash collection. What else? Candidates stake out different positions on regulating marijuana. Asked about taking guns from police officers, Wiley demurs. Taking guns from police officers, wow. That's not going to win you a lot of votes if everybody's concerned about crime. like it or not, people are more concerned about being attacked by criminals than police officers in New York right now. So probably a hard answer for Wiley because of her, ultra kind of AOC base. Candidates weigh in on burning question. Does Adams live in New York City? Yeah, that was tough press for Adams. That was the first question everybody asked at the beginning of the debate. And any other takeaways? Is Adams even eligible to run for mayor? That's him showing his basement apartment that he says is his primary residence. So, yeah, those are some of the takeaways from the debate. Now, we're going to go on to checking out some of Yang's latest ads, what he's saying on Twitter.
Hello, nerds!
Oh, we got a little Hello Nerds in. What was that from? Oh, we got a new member from Kevin Hero. Has become a Nerds for Humanity member. Let me get the bell, Kevin. Good timing. Very good timing, Kevin. You know why? Because I was just about to thank the Nerds for Humanity members who make this channel possible. And then we're going to go into Twitter, search trends, betting odds. So stay tuned. But first, let me make sure I give a shout out to the people that make this channel possible. As you guys know, we create content here on this channel almost pretty much twice a week, every Saturday and Sunday. And we're not getting the views that we used to during the presidential campaign because, not everybody's super into the Yang. And that's why this member support helps us pay for the bills because we don't make that much money from ads anymore. And allows me to pay for the streaming software, the podcast hosting fees, the video editing software, the photo editing software, and then hopefully I can promote the channel and keep growing it. So who makes that possible? Let's take a look-see at our biggest supporter is none other. Ooh, what is going on here? That's interesting. It's like a little border there. Fix that later. None other than Soldier One. Soldier One is a senior vice president at the Nerds for Humanity member club. So thank you, Soldier One. Really appreciate your support. Then we have our vice presidents. And they are V Lamb, JM Sat, Fat Lamb, Kristen Slevin, Laura Lane, Patrick Dunn, Richard Johnson, Bike, and Mindful Skeptics. So thank you to our vice presidents. And then next level down are our hardcore. And they are Mike, Gene, David, DK, Phoenix, Jekylego, Kirsch, Mr. History, Byram, Mona, Susan, Yang, Tony, Robert, Dean, Stat, Galessa, J. Perrin, AA, J. Bryan, Vivian, Dana, Flavio, Yoda, Jason, and Parth. And then our entry-level members are our verified nerds. And they are Helen, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Yes, Brian, Peter, Arez, Your Maman, Sophia, Jadwiga, Gail, Shake, Mike. Whoops. What happened? Mike, Doris, Emerald, Lori, Ben, Roger, Lisa, Christina, Vaughn, Rasta, Jessica, Elizabeth, James, Jalopy, Emma, Hui, Ira, Shoni, Philip, Jameson, Dr. A, William, Karen, Monica, Mai, Ardent, Semery, David, Brittany, Clyde, Sasha, Wana, Aaron, Warren, Reddy, Lukey, and Kevin, who just joined, I think, like a minute ago. And our newest members overall, in addition to Kevin, are, let's see. The youngest nerds are Kevin, Lukey, Parth, Reddy, and Warren. So thank you for supporting. Now, let's look at what Andrew is talking about on his Twitter feed. Refresh. Okay, so he looks like he has a new ad, which we will watch together. And let me just go to the beginning and turn on audio, and then we can see what we think of this new ad if you guys haven't seen it.
I believe in the promise of New York, but our city's broken bureaucracies have failed us over and over again. I'm a public school parent who ran a small business here, and I started a national movement that delivered cash relief to millions of Americans. If we elect someone who has been a part of the machinery for years and years, nothing will change. We need safe streets, housing that's actually affordable, and a vibrant economy. I'm Andrew Yang, and as your mayor, I'll fight to make New York City work for us and our families every day. Paid for by Yang for New York. I believe in the promise.
I like that ad. Very positive, uplifting. Feels like a major league player. Good for you, Andrew. This is him at the Rally for Change, and then he was at church. Looks like a Spanish-speaking church. Then he is with Grace and a bunch of Asian Americans. And then looks like he was in the Bronx. Dude is all over the place. Then he was at Pride Parade. My God. Get the freaking Red Bull for this dude. Then he was with Vanessa Gibson. And they're... I wonder what music he's jiving to. Let's see here. Let's play. What song is it? Is it Jay-Z? I don't think so.
Okay, let me get this. Put this on social media, man. Put it on social media.
Vote, everybody. Early voting. Vote today. Vote, vote, vote. Vote, vote, vote. Really don't understand me. Really don't know the deal.
Was that Brick House? No.
Trying hard to make it right.
Anybody who knows that tune, put it in the chat. All right, then oh, it's Bobby Brown. Holy cow, that is a flashback. Remember when wasn't Bobby Brown married to the lady from Bodyguard? I think he was. Any rate. Oh, it's my prerogative. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yes. Thank you, Evan Denson, for reminding us of our 1990s music. All right. So basically, then he's at Sunset Park. Bro is everywhere. Okay? Dude is everywhere. So if Yang doesn't win, yes, Whitney Houston. It is a tragedy what happened to Whitney. But, man, she was a talent. Any rate, so TLDR on Yang on Twitter. Bro is everywhere. What about search trends? Sugar Sweet says, Todd sounds like a boomer dad. Dude, ain't no way a boomer would know about Bobby Brown being married to Whitney Houston. Maybe they would. Maybe they would. Regardless. It's my prerogative, all right? Oh, shit. All right. Let's look at search trends. So, who are New Yorkers searching for in the last 7 days? It used to be Andrew was the leader in people searching. No mas. Last 7 days, people are searching for Eric Adams. They're probably trying to figure out what exit Eric Adams lives off of the New Jersey Turnpike. But they are searching for him more than they are searching for Yang. And Yang ain't even number 2. Yes, Mike CK is right. Gen X with pride. The most underappreciated freaking generation. Number 2 is Maya Wiley. And then if that's the past 7 days. Now, if we say, what about the past day? The most searched for is still Eric Adams. Damn that Eric Adams. And then number 2 would be tied Wiley and Yang. Now, what are people searching for? Because as Evan Denson is saying, he's like, well, hey, maybe it's bad searches. Maybe we don't want to have a lot of searches. All right, I feel you. Let's see. For Yang, the number one search is his height. He's actually pretty tall for an Asian dude. Then they're searching for his policies. Isn't that refreshing that they want to know what his policies are? They're searching for more about Evelyn and the mayoral election. So people who search for Yang, well, on the one hand, they like policies, but they really want to know his height, which is crazy. Then you've got Scott. Oh, crikey. That was past 7 days. So I don't know what just happened. We're going to go to past day. Then you've got Stringer, and they're searching for mayoral candidates. Art Chang. That is crazy that people searching for Stringer are searching for Art Chang. And then Garcia. I'm curious about this Art Chang character. Who is Art Chang? Let's see. Who is Art Chang? I wonder if we can get Art Chang to get some of his bros to be number 2 votes for Yang. Interesting fella. Born in Atlanta to Korean immigrants in an all-white district in Ohio. Huh. He's worked in maybe he can join the Yang administration. He's like a Asian Garcia. Interesting. All right. Well, maybe we'll get Art on the show one of these days. Let's go back to, but the main thing is that Stringer people are searching for Art Chang. But I think Stringer's pretty much done. He's like in the single digits now. Eric Adams, they're searching for Aaron Foldenauer, his education, and Art Chang. What in the Sam Hill? Jeez. Freaking Art Chang. Then you got Maya Wiley, Strokes Maya Wiley Twitter, The Strokes Maya Wiley, and Aaron Foldenauer. And then for McGuire, not a lot of searching for him, so not a lot of data. So there you go. That's the search trends. Next, we're going to go to betting odds, and I'm losing my voice, so we'll probably have to end the stream soon. I think it was too much Bobby Brown. It's my prerogative. No. All right. Before we go into betting odds, let's also take a brief moment to shout out some UBI candidates that are featured on my other project, which is a volunteer nonprofit project called ofthepeople.us. It's like a Yelp for local candidates. You can filter by policy. You can favorite people, and when you favorite them, they move up in the trending list. And any candidate that's not on here, they can add themselves for free. It's completely nonprofit. It's just trying to increase more exposure for local candidates and more competition. Within UBI, some of the top UBI candidates, if you've not heard of them, look into them. Find out more on ofthepeople.us. Ali Dalzimer, Austin Searle, Jesse Philippe, Sass, and Michael Swanson. And of those, I've had Ali on the show. I've had Austin on the show. I've had Jesse on the show. I don't think I've had Sass on the show. So Sass, if you're watching this, or if your supporters are watching this and you want to check out the Nerds channel, go contact me. All right, now let's look at, that's ofthepeople.us. And thank you for all the Patreon supporters who help pay for the hosting fees and make this project possible. It's all volunteer. Okay, the gamblers. Here's what the gamblers are saying. The gamblers are pretty sure that Eric Adams is twice as likely to become mayor of New York City than Andrew Yang. Oh, Mike CK is sharing the URL for OTP. Thank you, Mike. You down with OTP? Yeah, you know me. All right. This is bad news, folks. Let's just call a spade a spade. Eric Adams is the most likely person to become mayor based on the gambling betting odds 9 days from the election. Now, 9 days, a lot can happen, okay? But, golly, it is not looking fantastic. Now, I guess, on the other hand, Yang is second most likely and significantly more likely than Maya Wiley, despite that RCV simulation that we did. So that's encouraging, but 1 in 4 chance versus 1 in 2 chance, you'd rather be Adams now. God, it's so weird that you'd rather be Adams, but that's what it is. All right, I think that covers what I wanted to hit, but if you guys have any questions, hit me up in the chat, and I'll try and answer any questions that you have, or we'll talk about, I'll highlight some comments as well. Oh, by the way, can you do me a solid, nerds? Can you like and share this stream? Because it helps spread the word, and hopefully more people will watch this and realize that if you never had volunteered for Yang before, now is the time to go to yangfornewyork.com. Then you go to volunteer, and then you scroll down and you do phone bank. Go to the virtual phone bank option. You say join in. You fill out the info. Oh, I just showed off my phone number and email address. Please don't email me. unless you have an amazing guest that you want to recommend for the show. But that's how it happens. You click on a couple links and you can start calling people using the software provided by the Yang campaign. It's pretty easy and it's kind of fun. I might do some more this afternoon, to be honest with you. So go to Yang for New York, volunteer, and help us help Andrew help the country and the city of New York. Okay, let me see if there's any comments I can highlight before we wrap up or answer any questions. So Mike CK says, I think if Yang loses in this race, we should find someone that Americans can accept as American. Put all of his ideas, yeah, maybe, I think Mike CK is saying, well, what if Andrew Yang were Andrew Smith or Andrew Hernandez or Andrew, not Andrew Jackson, but Andrew Jefferson? Maybe there could be more support for basic income than those same policies espoused by a guy with a name like Andrew Yang. Now, I will tell you that is very sad if that's true. And I think Andrew is more than his policies. I think he's genuinely at least a gifted person, if not a near genius in terms of his IQ. And he's clearly tenacious. And he's clearly, high integrity from everything I've seen. So I don't think it's just his policies, but I agree, Mike CK, if America and New York is not ready for an Asian American leader, then that will be a problem. So, and certainly a limitation. Evan is saying, hey, people are realizing that Adams is bad news, and they're calling him out like Joy Reid and Chris Hayes. So maybe we will see a decline in Adams' support. And then where will those Adams supporters go? Will they be more likely to go to Wiley or Yang? Most of them, I would imagine, would go to Garcia first. But then if Garcia doesn't make the final rounds, where do Garcia supporters go? So former Adams, they then go to Garcia. Where do they rank Yang and Wiley? And that's why this ranked choice voting and this phone banking matters. Because you actually may not need to convince them to rank Yang number 1. You just need them to rank Yang higher than Wiley. Because if in that scenario where Adams drops out and gets sort of knocked out, then it'll be, okay, if they put Wiley 3 and Yang 2, if someone has an Adams, maybe Adams, Garcia, Yang, Wiley, that might be enough for Yang to win. Okay. Sugar Sweet says he's going to support Andrew till he stops asking. Yeah, well, he's definitely asking. And thank you, Sugar Sweet, for all of your support for this channel as well. Patrick wants to know, would you ever consider moving somewhere other than the U.S. and Switzerland in the future? Not in the near future. I really love Northern California. I've not lived in the Bay Area ever before, so I've only been here a year since I moved back from Zurich, and I love it. I freaking love Northern California. It is expensive, but the weather is just ridiculously good. And I think as I've gotten older, I really appreciate great weather. Like when I was younger and I was in college, I went to school in Maine. After grad school, I lived in Seattle, and I kind of like, you know, hunkered down in kind of bad weather. But now, man, that beautiful golden sunshine, cool evenings, temperate kind of like summers, beautiful. But to answer your question, what I would consider it, but I'm not looking to. And if I were to live anywhere else, I would be tempted to go try maybe London, but that weather is crap. It's hard to beat Northern California weather. Maybe Spain would be cool, although it's hot. Okay. Evan is saying, Matt Skidmore is a reason, by the way, for exposing Adams. Yeah, who knows? Maybe if this residency thing becomes Adams's Achilles heel, then Matt Skidmore will be like the, you know, Bernstein of, or Woodward of the New York City race, right? That'll be cool. I mean, yeah, give credit to Matt Skidmore. If you guys aren't subscribed to his channel, you probably are. But go make sure you check it out, because he's also like the C-SPAN of this Yang campaign. Bro is following Yang around actual business where he can get lots of passive income. So kudos to you, Matt. How did your phone banking sessions go? You know what's interesting? They went really well. I enjoyed it. I did it for a couple hours, and then I actually extended it. Like I kept going and then I went back to the Zoom and everybody was gone. But I was just like, that's fine. I'm just going to power through, because I wanted to get to 200 calls last Sunday, and then the Saturday before I got to 125. So maybe today I'll try and power through and maybe get to 250 if my sons will humor me. But overall, they went good. There was a lot of people who know about Yang, some that ranked him number 2. A lot of people are concerned about crime, and I have to keep it real. I did encounter some people who basically said they were not voting for him because he's Asian, and that was very uncomfortable and unfortunate, especially as an Asian American, hearing someone say, well, I don't like Asian Americans, or Asians don't like my people, and that's why I'm not going to vote for Yang. You know, that was sad, and these were not Trump supporters that were saying this. These were Democrats. Anyway, Sugar says that Andrew gets better as he campaigns. I tend to agree with that. Statner is saying yes. That clip from Matt's mom, that Matt and I guess his mom have put together, is getting 1.6 million views. Holy cow, that's crazy. Yeah, credit to Matt, dude. Credit to Matt. Much love, Matt. Much love. Wow, there have been articles in the Daily News mentioning Skidmore by name. I tell you, he's like the Bernstein of the Yang gang. I love it. And I also am hopeful that everyone in the Yang gang does at least 3 things to help Andrew get elected. Like, I just emailed a friend who lives in Manhattan who I hadn't talked to in a few years. I did the phone banking last weekend. I make content here. I donated 3 times, and the last donation, like, actually I got a couple raised eyebrows from Mrs. Nerd because she was like, oh, where'd that money come from? And I was like, dude, we got to help him out. Got to help a brother out. So everybody in the Yang Gang, all the Yang Gang creators who were very, very active during the presidential, if you've been thinking about coming back in, now is the time. Because if you want Yang to have a national future, it will be way more likely if the brother wins this mayoral race. And it will be way, way, way harder. Forget about Iowa and New Hampshire again. We won't go there if he loses this race. It'll be years and years in the future. Oh, we got a super chat from Dana. Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate that. A $24.99 super chat. Woohoo! Let me give a bell for that. So when I get some, I'm starting to save up money from these super chats and member revenue, and we're going to run some ad campaigns to promote the channel. It'd be great. We're at like 18,000 subs, and when I try and reach out to guests.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, Andrew. When I try and reach out to guests, like I'm trying to get Cigar and the Rising show people. Was it Kara? I'm so terrible with names. But I'm trying to get them as guests on the show because they have this new podcast called, I think, Breaking Point. And but you know, they probably look at Nerds for Humanity and like 18,000 subs, whatever. So anything I can do to kind of increase the audience for this channel, aside from producing more and better content, will be helpful. Yes, and the Nerdlings were phone banking. Thank you, Dana. They were phone banking with me. In fact, they were even, like, we're not just clicking buttons. They were talking to strangers as 11 and 13-year-olds. And it was a good lesson for them on how to, you know, project and, you know, speak very clearly and enunciate and speak, you know, from your stomach versus from your throat. And also convey, you know, the passion you have for a candidate. So that was pretty good. So thanks again, Dana. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Sugar Sweet is saying, yeah, there were some anti-Yang people canvassing for Yang by Asians. Yeah, I think the Asian thing is a factor. Let's see. Matt needs Ching to do a documentary. She's the right person to ask. Thoughts on Garcia? Garcia strikes me as a great COO, like a chief operating officer. And but she doesn't strike me as someone that can attract lots of new businesses to move to New York and stay in New York. And she doesn't strike me as someone that can bring together all of the different tribes and the boroughs. And I think Yang can. So I like Garcia. I respect her experience. But, you know, what New York needs in a mayor is a leader and someone who is going to drive a big following and a lot of positive energy. And Garcia feels more of like a behind-the-scenes operator. She's almost the opposite of Maya Wiley. Maya Wiley, I think, really thrives talking, but less clear about her execution capabilities. If you had like a combination of the two, that would be pretty interesting. All right, Stat Nerd is sharing some numbers. Love it. Thank you, Stat Nerd. Top second choices for Adams were Stringer, Yang, Garcia, and Wiley. So this would be good. If Adams doesn't bust through to the final round, then we could pick up a lot of his supporters. Now, we have to be careful, I think, around totally turning the knife on Adams for his New York residency, because you could imagine Adam supporters, if they see a lot of the Yang Gang like going way over the top, that might affect who they put as their number 2 choice, or they might just leave Yang off, you know. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes, Peter is back in Miami now. He got COVID, and he's still partying, and he's a perfect example of a living series of contradictions. Let's see. I think I got all the questions. I think I got all of it. Thank you for the people put a Q period in front of the question so I can realize that, okay, that's a question for me. All right. Oh, here's another one. No, actually, I got that one. Let's see if I got any more. All right. I think we're good, and I think I'm going to see if I can get the nerdlings to help me phone bank. Yeah. Garcia is not super exciting. All right. If you haven't, like and share, and then go to Yang for New York.com. Actually, let me just give you Yang. Yeah, yangforny.com. Go to yangforny.com. Volunteer. Make some calls. If everybody watching this makes like 10, 20 calls, maybe 100, it's really easy. It's all through your laptop. Recommend that you use a headphone or earbuds so the audio is a little better. But just get in there and help out. We win this, sky's the limit. We don't win this, it'll probably push the UBI movement back 5 or 10 years, in my opinion. So thanks, Yang Gang. Vote for Yang. Get your New York friends to vote for him. And with that, we will update you again in a few days. So don't forget to subscribe if you somehow stumbled upon this stream. Keep it real. Goodbye, nerds. Well, that didn't end. Goodbye, nerds.